Actual Karen, okay boomer. I'm inside because my neighbor is using a chainsaw. Last night, the mayor of Portland, Ted Wheeler, was gassed by Trump's secret stormtroopers. If you watched any of the videos, you'll notice that the protesters are not exactly fans of the mayor, and there are reasons for that. I'm going to read a report I did on the Stop the Hate counter-protest rally I attended in August 2018. It will let you know what Portland protests are like and explain why they have a problem with the mayor and the police. August 7, 2018. I was at the Stop the Hate rally at the Portland City Hall. I've lived in Portland for about 18 months. I spent the first 30 years of my life in Houston, Texas, and the next 40 in Moore, Oklahoma. I have had experience in quite a few protests, one in D.C., several at the Bush Ranch, a couple in Houston. There was one at the Miami during the vote count, and in Austin, Texas, and many in Oklahoma. There were counter-protesters at all of them. The rally at City Hall was like most I've been to in Portland, and had really good speakers and more music, dancing, and costumes than the ones in Texas and Oklahoma. I was not planning to go to the waterfront until I heard the last speech, which was given by a trans woman named Alicia, who was also black and Puerto Rican, and she reminded me of my oldest grandniece. She wanted everyone who could to go to show solidarity at the Unite the Right rally. We started for the waterfront with what appeared to me to be the Black Bloc in the lead. They looked more like ninjas than stormtroopers, and not many of them wear any kind of protective equipment other than bicycle helmets, which in Portland is like cowboy hats in Dallas. We were stopped when we got to NATO for maybe 15 minutes, with people deciding what to do. I was told the Patriot prayer meeting and Proud Boys were across the street. I never observed anyone praying, and unlike Oklahoma, there were not even any signs with scripture verses telling us that God hates fags, or Muslims are terrorists, immigrants are druggies and rapists, or pro-choice women are murderers. Joey Gibson, the Trump bully of the hour and candidate for the U.S. Congress from Washington, who went on to get only 2% of the vote in the Republican primary, had said that the police agreed not to search anyone as long as they stayed behind the fence with the "no weapons allowed" signs every few yards. So he said they would keep their concealed weapons in their backpacks. At this point, I was told to take my walker and stay on the sidewalk in case the Black Bloc and the rest of the people in front of me had to run. We had a good time with the unprecedented brass band playing music, and all the clowns with them, and many others were dancing. The clowns had a sign that said, "If you elect a clown, you get a circus." We chanted things like "No Trump, no KKK, no fascist USA." Later on a video, I saw a woman from KOIN say the counter-protesters were not supporting Antifa, but just didn't like Patriot prayer. I didn't observe or meet any pro-fascist at City Hall on the march. In fact, I saw many people thank the Black Bloc for being there because they would be the ones taking whatever was coming. I didn't hear anyone advocating violence except Joey Gibson. I was told that he had encouraged Patriot Prayer and Proud Boys to bring weapons of all kinds to defend their right to bring a candidate that would not be on any ballot in Portland or anywhere in Oregon, to let Portlanders know that he intended to take Portland by force if he had to. We turned to the right on NATO, and the Black Bloc stayed at the same place. The people I saw in the front lines on the other side looked like a kind of church picnic or tourist group. They all had cameras. I didn't realize that what was behind them until I got home and looked more closely at my photos. There were people back there in Proud Boys Fred Perry shirts, and a lot of them dressed just like the police in full riot gear. I was actually up and slightly above the crowd a few yards to the left of the black block when I first heard the police say they saw someone throw bottles and rocks and the people on the southwest side of NATO should move west. That would be us. I had just gone down to ask guys who were inside huge beach ball type things with big flowers on the front what group they were with. It was social ecology. I saw no one throw anything from either side, no one moved immediately, and it was repeated several times at intervals. I'm not sure what side moves first, but both sides eventually did move to our left. I stopped to rest in my walker in the shade. People said there were people yelling stuff at the police, but I didn't hear them. It was here that the black bloc passed us and went further up the street, and the other side was doing the same. For the most part, there was a line of police on both sides of the street, but they were all watching us. We were offered free water, falafel, and sunscreen. The unprecedented brass band and the clowns were on Yam Hill, and everyone was dancing and watching the people on the other side of the street. I have video of two women dressed in hospital scrubs with red crosses on the sleeve dancing on our side, and a guy on the other side dressed in gray who at times looked like he was coming over the barricade. He was yelling stuff and begging someone to come over and fight. The police continued to say there was someone throwing bottles and rocks and telling people on our side to stay on the sidewalk. I didn't see anyone more than one step off the sidewalk, nor did I see anyone throw anything. It was here that I heard a commotion behind me, and up the sidewalk through the counter-protesters comes a group of 6 or 8 guys dressed in black who were yelling, "This is Joey Gibson," and pointing to the guy in the middle like he was some kind of a rock star. The police had announced a lot of times that no one was going to be allowed to cross the street, but obviously that did not apply to the founder of the Patriot Prayer, who wasn't praying and was surrounded by Proud Boys. They were inches from me, and on the edge of the street were police officers who did nothing and said nothing. I didn't hear prayer warrior Joey, who again will not be on any ballot in Oregon, say anything. He went further up the street to where the black bloc was and walked through them, and I watched them walk back across the street with the police. I thought it was a direct provocation, and I heard later that someone knocked his hat off. Not long after that, I was taking a video of the prayer group marching over to the water and down to the right, when a girl in the video says, "What is that?" She was pointing to a group down by the river that were dressed like the police but did not have riot helmets. At this time, most of the police near us turned and finally looked away from us. This was when we decided to leave because it looked like it might not be as bad as the last time, but my friend thought it could get bad. She took me to the nearest Max, and I had to wait a couple of minutes, and she went to find her bicycle. According to my phone, I called my husband from the Max at 2:08 to tell him I was on the way home. He was desperate to know where I was. He told me that just when I called, they were announcing that the police were shooting flashbangs. My friend said she heard them and saw smoke, but went home. In the space of about 15 to 20 minutes, it had gone from what I would call the end of a tense but rather nonviolent protest into what seemed like a war zone. Another friend who was a medic said she's treated a lot of people, and she saw the Patriot Boys roaming the streets, and some had not only guns but other weapons. I can't repeat this enough. I was there a couple of hours with the police announcing every few minutes to get back on the sidewalk and that people were throwing things. I saw no one on either side throw anything before I left. The only people I saw cross the street were Joey, the prayer leader, and his Proud Boy escort, and they were not arrested. Bye.